Welcome to the 2024 Championship Coaches Roundtable here. My name is Don Gawreluk, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director of the Baseball Coaches Association. Also, I run the All-Star Series. We have Brian Sprout from Eastridge, Mike Smith from Totino-Grace, and Cody Hallahan from Rockford joining us. Guys, thanks for joining me. And I think what I'd like to start with is just giving you a chance to talk about your experience and that some of those things that coaches feel along the way where you have those special feelings about your team.
This year was similar to the previous year in a sense that we had a ton of guys back that had a lot of experience. And so we knew the talent was there. The thing that we run into every year is a ultra talented conference that we play in. So we get through that just by surviving sometimes. And then, our section has all those teams and then some. So we know we're in for it no matter how much talent we might have because everybody else has just as much talent. So I don't know, a ton of experience with our players and, they knew they were capable of doing something special if they stayed after it. I did a little prep work for this, trying to get to know some of you other coaches here. I saw Cody, you seem to have a lot of returners with your group as well. And Mike, you said, I think you didn't have as many returners, but so a few different experiences there. So maybe similar to Cody's, but a little bit different from Mike's.
Yeah, I mean, we did have kind of a unique, start to finish season. We started off 0-5, in 5 pretty good games, and it was kind of an interesting deal. We, with the groups that we had with our juniors and seniors and a couple sophomores sprinkled in, we thought we had a chance to be kind of good, and compete a little bit, and we had a couple of good summers going into that year, and then starting off 0-5, then we won one, then we lost another one. It was like, man, this is.
But okay. After that, you were 18-2.
Yeah, we kind of after the first 5, we had just a short little team meeting, because it wasn't like we were playing bad, but there was some little things that were. Either some little things that were happening or little things that weren't happening. And so we had a little, I don't know what you'd call a little brainstorming and some sharing. And I think from there, guys kind of started to trust each other a little bit more and maybe embrace the role that they were currently in and really, instead of trying to fight the role that they were in, they just kind of embraced it, which that doesn't happen all the time with teams. I've had some other guys that reacted differently. And these guys, it was super interesting the way that it all kind of came together after that start. Because it wasn't like, 0-5, I don't think we lost any confidence. I just think guys were scratching their head a little bit going, okay, what's missing or what's,
well, you're 0-5. You're losing 1-run games. I mean,
there was a few 1-runners in there, and even I think Rogers was one of those games. And that one kind of got away from us. And really, it was 5 really good innings. Unfortunately, the game is 7. And so again, it's not like we were playing really poorly. It wasn't complete. And a lot of it was, I think, guys trying to do too much and force the action a little bit rather than just letting it come and play and kind of play free. But yeah, and to your point, Don, once it kind of got going pretty good. It was really a neat run after that.
Mike, at that point in time, did you move some different players in and out of the lineup? Were there different kids coming in, or was it the same guys and it just, something clicked from there?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was a lot of the same guys. There was early on, there was a few things about like, okay, we're not really sure. We were trying to figure out how to get the best baseball guys in the lineup all at the same time. And so there was a little bit of monkeying around, but not very much. I think it was more just guys kind of just were able to just start relaxing a little bit and just play rather than trying to force so much, and do so much. And instead of trying to hit the ball 800 feet every at bat, maybe a bunt for a hit when they're giving it to you, or maybe just stay back and slap that single the other way and get on base, put some pressure on. And when we started to kind of just play simple, it got a lot easier.
Sure. One thing is early in the season too. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember how cold it was those first couple of weeks. And as things kind of started to warm up, you started seeing different teams, really different faces of the teams that were involved. Cody, talk about what you had going on with your Rockford team, because I think you guys had success, expected success, didn't you?
Yep. So yeah, going into this season, we knew what we were bringing back. We only truthfully lost one starter from the year before in our senior group that graduated the year before. Obviously, Alex Altman would have been a major help the year before, but he had an injury right before the season, so he didn't play that year right before until sections, which he only could really run the bases for us. So we knew we were bringing back pretty much the whole starting lineup, and we kind of harped on that the whole offseason. Every time we met with the boys, said you guys could be something special, something that Rockford's never had, and said, but you got to believe it yourself. We can give you the tools to do it, but you got to believe it. And the first couple practices, we kind of butted heads a little bit, and some of the guys were screwing around, not taking it seriously. So we basically sent them home with an assignment. We said, I told them, I want you to go home. I want you to think hard over the weekend. What do you want to get out of this season? What's important to you? Because we had 9 seniors. I said, what do you guys want to get out of this? And they all came back. Pretty much most of them took it pretty seriously, wrote down what their goals were, what they wanted, and every single one of them said, get to the state tournament, get to the state tournament. A couple of them wanted to win it, obviously, but the ultimate goal was to get to the state tournament because no Rockford team has ever gone to the state tournament. We had a couple bumps along the way, depending on who it was. The Southwest caught us in one game against Will Haas. They caught us just on an off game. We had Holy Family got us where we pretty much ran out of pitching on a end of the week game. We just didn't have enough arms left. So we ended up throwing a guy that really we didn't throw that much, and they got us an extra innings after Haas had already struck out 17 in 7 innings. So it was just one of those things. We had those 5 losses, one of them coming in the section tournament where our back was against the wall. And we basically told them after that loss is another one against Southwest that was extra innings, is that, all right, it's do or die time. It's like you either could accomplish your goals you wanted or we're done because now we can't lose anymore. And they took it in stride and they never backed down. I mean, we came out and we played the ball like we knew we could. We did make one minor change in our lineup. We ended up putting a freshman who hadn't played all year. He was down on JV all year. We put him in our DH spot just to kind of turn over the bottom half of our order and put him in a 9 spot. And he stepped up big for us. He almost batted 300 in all the playoffs games. And basically that little minor switch there helped turn over our order to get up to our big guns. And they took it from there. And I mean, it helped. We knew we had the pitching. That was one big thing we knew we had between Haas, Aiden, and then we actually got Benabos back, which we didn't have him for the whole year up until section playoffs. So he ended up throwing the second game against Breck for us and came up big and threw 4 innings. He was on a pitch count, so we were like, okay, we need quick innings. And that's not usually his forte. He likes to be a strikeout guy, but he stepped up big, got us to 4 or 5 innings. We were able to bring in one of our seniors that just basically was a good reliever for us and shut him down. So, it was definitely an experience the whole town got to be a part of. Went immensely, being only my second year. It was something I was looking forward to and knew we could do. And it absolutely came to the players. And the players finally stepped up like they knew they could, and they understood that we have something special here. It just falls on us coming together, and they did it. And obviously we got the ultimate prize. So,
well, Southwest Christian had beaten you twice, like you said, and then you had four elimination games in the sections, which is so hard to deal with and come through with pitching. Oh, yeah. And like you said, you had a guy that came back on time to help you out. Some pretty special things happening there.
Yeah, weather kind of helped us out too a little bit with that. We got a rain day in between the second time playing Central, Norwood Young America, and when we're supposed to play Southwest to go to the section championship. We got a nice little rain day in there, so we were able to bring Haas back to throw against them again, and I knew he would be fueled to get revenge for what they did to him earlier in the year, and it turned out to work out just like that. And he actually hit a home run in that game as well. So he helped at the plate too. So yeah, once we got there, we knew what we could do against Breck because what we did during them in the regular season, we just knew that our 3-4 pitchers could match up a little better than their top 2 that we were going to see. So we just had to get there and let our bats do the work, and it paid off.
How do you guys, like Mike and Cody, like your section tournament, how does that compare to the state tournament for you guys? The competition you see there, you get to the state tournament, you're obviously facing a top arm right away, most likely, and then everything else after that. But how's your section prepare you for that, or is it similar in a way with talent?
I would say for ours, Section 5 for 2A is probably one of the top sections in the state. The last few years has been, for the Class 2A, has been one of the dominant ones to come out of there. You mean, like Don just said, we had to go through a grinder. I mean, we lost the Southwest in the third game of that sections, and we had to win 5 games to come back. And we had to do that, and we lost on a Thursday. We had to do it in a week's time because the championship was the following Thursday. And so we played Saturday. We beat Providence. Came back on Monday. We beat Central. Came back on Tuesday, or was supposed to play Tuesday. Ended up going to Wednesday. Beat Southwest, and then we had to beat Breck twice on that Thursday. And our section, it's kind of, if you win, you can set up your pitching rotation really nicely. If you do have a stumble along the way, you got to hope that your 3, 4, 5 pitchers can be just as good as some people's 1 and 2s, because some of them get more rest than you do. But overall, yeah, I would say for our section the last few years, it's usually the team that has 3 or 4 good arms that usually makes it in the end, just because they can shut people down.
Hey, Brian, when you guys have your section, do you have enough time in between to be able to set your pitching up, or do you really just have maybe a game or 2 max where you can throw your top guys?
You can use your top arm maybe. It depends on what you see. Like I'd say last year, our section, we had 6 teams that could beat any of the other teams quite easily on any given day. So like you could maybe try and push your number 1 if you wanted to try it. Other than that, like you could use them twice and then maybe in some relief. You got to have some depth in our section for sure.
It's kind of interesting how that goes section to section across the state. Seems like some of them you can get away with maybe even a 3rd try at a guy.
Right. I prefer that. I don't know, Mike, what's your section like?
No, this is I thought our section was really good. The teams that we played, we had a really good game against St. Francis, and that was one of the the quarterfinal game, and that was a really good absolute dogfight battle. And then we played Monticello, and they got some guys that can throw it. Oh yeah, they can play a little bit. And then Becker, and the Becker game, it was it was an extra innings, pitchers duel, and until both guys kind of ran out, and then we ended up scoring a run in the, I think it was the bottom of the 8th or 9th or something. And there's probably in that section, there's probably 5 teams that, if they came out of there, nobody would be, super surprised. They'd be, oh yeah, it makes sense, and so our top 5, I felt were pretty darn good. There was some good depth, some great games, some pitching, and really some good atmosphere, just some baseball communities, that supported their teams. And kind of that final part was all held out at Monticello, and that field really absorbs a lot of people. Just they got a great place to watch, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed, which was super fun to a place for our kids to play, and just an exciting atmosphere, really fun.
It's a nice site. I know, Mike, your comments kind of lead into my next part of the state tournament experience, but you're talking about pitching and scratching out a run and trying to hold teams down, and your Totino-Grace team had 2 shutouts and a 1-run game in the state tournament. I mean, to be able to only give up 1 run in the entire state tournament is really saying something. So, Mike, why don't you kick off talking about your state tournament experience with that?
Yeah, no, you're right. And again, when the season started, we kind of went like, okay, we got some pitching. It was funny because on the bench, we'd kind of laugh because, almost all of our guys, it's like a bunch of interchangeable parts. They all throw the exact same, they all throw the exact same pitches, the same speed. Like it's just changing uniform numbers out on the mound. And then when we got to the state tournament, those guys really, really, sharpened up and got hot. You talk about hitters getting hot. Our pitchers got hot. And we were able to throw, I don't know, a guy that had been hurt kind of off and on all season, who we thought was going to be our number one. And he threw the first game against Little Falls and really just a gutsy outing, because that Little Falls team was good. They were really good. Some great pitching, some good hitters. Come back the next day and play Benilde, who at the time was, the number one seed in the whole thing. And our guy, he's just kind of a strike thrower. And he went complete game shutout against Benilde, and I don't know, it was like 60 pitches. Just kept the ball down, kept moving it around a little bit, bunch of pop-ups, a few ground balls, quick innings. Cody, you're talking about, the guy that, was able to kind of keep the innings kind of moving and whatever. And when Jake pitches, that's sort of how it is. He just is always around the zone, and the hitters were just missing, and he was getting them to just miss. And then we had that long break, because then we were supposed to play on that Monday, where we're kind of going, okay, who's next? Which one of our guys is going next? And then it got pushed back to the Friday, and then that got pushed back to Saturday.
Mess.
It was really the lineup was kind of this moving target as it got pushed around, and but then we were able to come back with our guy that threw the first game to throw the championship game, and he was really just in a zone, and just you could just tell, like, when he was out there, this was what he was, like he was so ready for this. And it was really fun. It was really, really you kind of, like, as a parent, sometimes you get proud, and sometimes as a coach you just get proud of your kids, the way they respond and things. And that was really a moment where you really felt proud, watching this kid work. It's like, man, this is so fun. It was really good.
Was your dugout pretty calm in the championship game? Because we were hitting in the cage kind of while you guys were playing, and a few of us kind of just opened the door and we sat there and watched a little bit, and we were listening into you guys and just kind of watching. It seemed quiet and calm.
Yeah, I tell you what, our guys were kind of funny. They were different. We had, you must not have come across, Aiden Smith, because he, I would say, would not be the quiet, calm guy. But the rest of them were pretty mellow. He's a pretty excitable kid, and was sort of the ringleader on the bench. He was a kind of a mid inning type relief guy, and he brought some energy. So you must have been on the other end from him.
Sure.
But yeah, calm would be kind of a good way to describe it, and just relaxed and loose, and for being the state championship game at Target Field, those guys kind of handled it pretty well, I thought, in their demeanor, and not getting too goofy about all the cool stuff, and just going and doing their deal. That was an interesting observation, though, Brian. It's funny you say that.
Brian, Cody, either one of you want to talk about yours?
Cody, go ahead.
Yeah, like Mike said, we were kind of gung-ho for it. We kind of got a little, I guess not puck luck, but it's not hockey. We got a little baseball, the bounces to go our right way in our first game against Blake. We thought going into it, we got a favorable draw, being the 2 seed, getting them as a random draw, and kind of went into it, and we just had an uncharacteristic game in that first game. A lot of base running errors kind of kept us out of big innings. So we went into the last inning down 1-0. Haas was throwing good, and we just couldn't. It's like something one or the other, that we would like get guys on second and third. Also, we couldn't get them in. got second, third with like one out, still couldn't get him in. And like, okay, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, finally in the 7th inning, we got one to go our way, got the first one to tie it. All of a sudden, it's like we kind of relaxed. Then Aiden Smith came up, and he ended up hitting a deep fly ball, kind of got misplayed out there in the outfield. And they saw it dropped. We got the run. He's celebrating, not forgetting that you need to finish the play, Aiden. Their coach comes out, starts screaming to their players. They go over, they tag him. Luckily, he was only the second out, and luckily the guy ahead of him on the bases stopped at the base he was at. So luckily, the game ended. So, yeah, scratch that one out. But once we kind of got those first nerves out of first state tournament game, whole town there, woke up super early because the town wanted to send us out in a parade and kind of got all that out of the way. The second game against LeSueur went very well. LeSueur was a great team, very scrappy team. They had a very good game against Perham the day before to come play us. We knew we were going to have our hands full with that. Aiden Smith came out on the mound, did his normal thing, threw strikes, went right at him. We jumped out early. They came back a little bit, and then we finally got those extra 4 runs and we went up 7-3. We knew, here we go, this is what we need to do. And then state title game, we knew Haas was going to be going. Having an extra whole week off for him gave us even more ammunition. And we got to that Friday, and the way he was in the bullpen leading up to the game on the bus, we just knew he's going to do something special the way he's acting right now. And he did. I mean, he was one misplay communication between him and our first baseman away from a perfect game. I mean, and he understood it happened, but I mean, everyone talked about it, how him and our third baseman who worked out all year, Benabos, how they gave each other a hug right after that happened. They just knew the moment still that we were still going to accomplish our goal. We got up. I mean, once we got 2-3 runs, I just knew there was no way that Foley was a very good team. There was just no way, the way he was throwing that day, that they were just going to get anything off of him. And I mean, it came to fruition, and all of our goals were achieved, and it was a great experience. Like I said, the rain could have held off, but it was what it was, and we enjoyed it, and it was a great experience playing at Twins Field.
That week off made a difference in the pitching matchups. Just some of the best matchups around. I mean, Brian, talk about yours.
Yeah, what you just said was exactly it. It was we went from we weren't quite sure for pitching what we were going to have and what they were going to have to, all right, everybody's got their horses and let's go. And we knew it was going to be a game, and it certainly was, because their guys were they were ready to go. It was both guys on the mound. It was fun to watch. And then it came down to, who was going to maybe make a mistake, who was going to get one clutch hit, who's going to be able to steal a base. Really fun baseball to be a part of, to watch.
You guys split during the season, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And you know each other so well. So
yeah, we do. And, we get along great with each other. And these kids have been, a lot of these kids play club ball together, all the time. And so they're friends, and it's really, really fun. The communities they're playing, you got 2 great baseball communities in that championship game. The games leading up to it were fun too. I love CHS Field. There's an atmosphere there that, I love Target Field, but CHS, like it has a little bit smaller atmosphere, that you feel the crowd, the energy there, whether it's a day game or a night game. I love sitting there watching the other games that were being played after us and seeing the competition there as well. So, our whole experience was just amazing. We had a ton of seniors that were ready to play, ready to compete. The rain was going to tell us when we were going to play, and we just had to kind of deal with that. Our players did a good job of reacting to that. They just, their motto was ready for the next day, whatever it is. And they did a good job, and it was just kind of fun to be a part of.
Brian, in your championship game, you had a big break too, didn't you? I mean, it was like an hour plus rain delay of some sort too.
Yeah, it gave me a chance to watch my son's 14U tournament game being played in Omaha that I did not get to go coach. So I was sitting there watching that on Game Changer the whole time, and Ricky Michael just laughed at me because we're in the middle of a state championship rain delay, and that's what I'm sitting there doing. But you got to do something.
Always a dad. Yep, always got to do dad stuff. That's for sure.
Cody, I know in your first game we were watching that one pretty close too. My assistant coach, Tom, his son is the head coach at Blake.
Yep.
And Ethan played at our place. And so we were kind of keeping an eye on that game pretty close. So it was, when that ball got misplayed in the outfield, he was like, oh God, so it was just watching every pitch, it was really
Oh yeah. And me and Ethan, actually Tom too. I go back a little ways with them because I've worked with them before. A couple years ago when I was part of a recruiting service, and they were part of it too. So we had history together. And yeah, it was after the game. I just said, he just shook his head. He goes, I mean, we had you. Being we were coming in, we were one of the favorites, and they weren't, obviously, just because how their season had gone, but they got hot in their section. And yeah, it was a very good game. It was just one of those plays that turned out to come into our favor. And yeah, they definitely had their chance to get us, and we just lucked out. So
yeah, no, that was a good game. Just from our little deal, we're watching on a phone like you're talking about, Brian. Just like pull it up and watch it.
What does 2025 look like for your teams, guys?
Baseball never ends. I think as soon as we've won the last couple of years, like, I'm not kidding you, seconds after we've won, I'm thinking, okay, what do we got going next? And it's on to the next thing. And, for us, yeah, we lose first base coach, third base coach, our 2 team managers, 25 years worth of starting varsity experience. And it's an opportunity for the next group to come in and see what they can do. That's the way I got to look at it. I use the word opportunity, and we're gonna find out what we got.
Yeah, and you're right. That conference you play in, that's a grinder.
Yeah,
I kind of feel that about ours too. And you talk about like, okay, what's next, and man, I just, it's hard to know, right? Like, because there's some just. Player wise, like, you could kind of go player by player and go, yeah, I think this person will help us and that person. And the thing that I think we graduated quite a bit of that we're going to be really looking for is kind of that who's the heartbeat, who's the leader, who kind of operates the locker room, and who's that person, and how do they operate it, and how do they do it, and as coaches, how do we communicate with that person and let them know, like, you're the one. Like, this is going to be how this all goes. Really, ultimately boils down to how you are. It doesn't even matter about playing stuff. So that's the part where I kind of go like, ooh boy, we got to do some figuring on that one.
it should be another good year. We return. It helps. Pitching staff wise, we turned 3 of the 4 big guns we had last year. Haas obviously being that one top dog, but now Benebos should hopefully be healthy, and he's actually cranked up over the summer and off season. He's been jumping up his velo and his control, and kind of moving up those ranking boards as for recruiting. And we have Max Edwards. He's kind of our leader. He's one of our he's our top catcher, obviously, but he's also a great arm for us. He's a strike thrower. He comes in, and I still laugh because I talked to obviously Ethan before the Blake game, and he brought up, he goes, yeah, we asked him, said, who did they throw against you? And he goes, oh, they brought in this guy that he just throws it in there all the time and makes you want to hit him. And that was words from a Breck player, and it was Max, and that's how Max is. He doesn't have the velocity that Haas and Benebos have, but he's one of those guys, you put him in there, he's going to compete, and he's going to go right at you and say, here it is, come hit it. And those 3 are going to be obviously the anchors of the staff, so our pitching is going to be our forte again. Now it's finding hitters to pretty much go along with that. So we just got to get someone that can give us 3-4 runs a game. We should be sitting pretty. But our section, again, even our conference, it's going to be a tough grind again like it was last year. And any given day, like these guys were just saying, any given day in our section, someone can beat you.
What percentage of your guys is, for Cody and Mike, play other sports? Do you have a lot of guys that are just baseball all the time? That's a big difference maker for some programs.
For us, because we are a smaller school, I think maybe out of our potential starters, 3 don't play a different sport. All the other ones are multi-sport athletes because we are a smaller school, so they kind of do a lot of it's football, but we do have some basketball players, a couple wrestlers. But yeah, a lot of our guys are 2-3 sport athletes, so they're active pretty much the whole time. But the ones that are like that, they still get a lot of their baseball work in with their club teams, and that's been a big help for our program. Is those guys being able to go to those facilities, get their throwing in, get their hitting in, during the off season, especially with their other sports. They can do it on the weekends and stuff too. So that's been able to help.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we have a couple football guys and a couple hockey guys. And that's kind of about it. That has, for better or for worse, kind of that specialization where guys are just kind of doing one. We used to get a whole bunch of multi-sport guys, and kind of each year that's kind of ratcheted down a little bit. So now we probably just got just a handful of guys that are football, hockey, and then the rest of the guys are playing baseball all the time and lifting and whatever. And how about you? Now at a bigger school, like, do you have a bunch of multi-sport guys, or is it just baseball?
It's mostly just baseball guys. There's a handful that'll play a few other sports, but gone are the days of the 3-sport athlete, especially the larger schools. And you're seeing it at a lot of smaller schools too, where they think they got to do something big with one sport and they're committing so much time to it. And it's just kind of the opposite of what I believe in and what I feel. I want these kids to have a great experience, and it doesn't have to be just on a baseball field. I love going to, the varsity hockey game last night or whatever it might be, and just watching these kids do other things and just being a kid in so many different ways, because, it's an all-encompassing experience that goes by way too fast. And I feel some kids are just mortgaging everything that is by just spending it all doing one thing. Yeah, I just don't like hearing, the 6th grade dad that a baseball player that's a 6th grader, and his dad and I were, chatting it up, watching a football game a month or so ago. And he was talking about the program. He's like, I just told my kid, I said, if you're not hitting 4 days a week year round, you're not going to play for Coach Sprout. And I just looked at him. I said, let him play football. If he wants to play football, he needs to play football. Like, that kid's got to be a kid. So I don't want to hear that. I want them to play baseball and be really good, but I want them to be a kid.
Multi-sport athletes, and you hear all the pro athletes nowadays say that they were multi-sport athletes, and you get something from other sports. And I'm a big proponent of that. I agree. You can get stuff from football to apply towards baseball. You can get stuff from basketball, from wrestling, from hockey. You can apply it to baseball. And I think letting those kids do what they enjoy, be with their buddies that they're growing up with, I think is a big thing that needs to keep moving forward.
Do you feel like your team has left an impact on your community, growing baseball in your area, helped bring out more kids to registration or clinics or things like that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Coming from a smaller community, I think it definitely has helped. And being we have such a small sample size, being this is the first time for Rockford, for state tournament, for the success we had last year. But with what we've been doing for youth camps and kind of leading up to last season, I think it's helped grow our youth program. We have a great youth program for all youth sports that's very big on supporting the school and getting those athletes to stay in the sports and move up within. We've gotten a lot of kickbacks this last year between I can't even tell you. My wife's like, this is like the never-ending season, and I have a couple of my coaches saying that because the parades they want us to go to, the showcase or the different events they want us to come out in front and talk in front of people. Some other fun events they want us to do, and it's like, but it's a pride thing, and this is something they haven't really had at Rockford. And besides our track team, girls team winning it a couple of years ago, this is really the first team sport that's done it. And so it's something that it's new to them, but it's been an enjoyable experience. And I think hopefully it'll continue to grow. And I know they've been trying to get more baseball fields around the areas to help the youth program keep growing. So that sounds good to me. So I think, it's definitely, to me, it's growing in Rockford, and hopefully it'll continue that way.
But I think this experience has really, and our community is a pretty tight little community for having people come from all over the place. But it has brought out a little recognition for the baseball program, who I don't know, I'm a little bit proud of how it all has been going, over the last 15 years or more, and maybe even longer. I think we've had some pretty good tradition. This being the first state championship, though, I think it puts a little legitimate, stamp on there of like, yeah, maybe they are doing something right. It's kind of fun. It's just some recognition and some pride.
Yeah. Well, Brian, what has it done for Eastridge and your community out there on the east side of town?
I think we're a baseball school. It's fun to kind of talk about. Like, we've had success, and wins and losses are something that, they matter. But what I think defines us is just, the fact that we just keep going. We've got 300 kids in our youth association playing ball. That's a ton of kids. Our high school team is connected right down to it. We do tons of different things together. I'm involved as much as I possibly can, whether I have a kid in it or not. I was in this before he came along. So I think we've got a baseball program up and down, and people want to play baseball for Eastridge, and that's awesome. I love seeing it and hearing it.
Did you give yourself a chance to celebrate a little bit? And do you want to let us in on maybe what you did or any of that, or is that is that private?
Well, Don, I tell you what, when ours kept moving back, okay, and they said, nope, you're not going to play on Friday. It's going to be Saturday. I was talking to Bob Madison at the high school league. I said, listen, I'll do anything. We'll play at any time, but I have to be home no later than 5:00 because it's my son's grad party, and if I'm not there, it's going to be a bad situation. So literally our game got done. They finally shoo us off the field so you guys can get going.
Yeah.
So they kind of hustle us out of there. Everybody kind of meets back at school, and ordered pizzas, and people are, all excited and whatever. And maybe I shouldn't even say this on here, but I
can edit it.
I went and found, one of the moms that I really trusted and gave her the key to the front door of the school. And I said, listen, I have to go home and set up a tent for a grad party. Can you please lock the door when you guys are done? I had to boogie out of there.
Oh my gosh.
It was a bus ride.
Yeah. We're planning this, grad party. And it's like, okay, we just gotta, maybe let's just have it after baseball's done. And so, but then it kept getting pushed back, and it was like, oh man, this is getting a little tight here.
I was, my son it was our big trip to Omaha for their tournament. So my wife ended up taking him down there. So they were gone. My daughter was in a softball state qualifiers for youth softball. So someone had her. All of my entire family was gone at other events. I was by myself. But the coaching staff, we celebrated accordingly for the first time since we had a few hours. And then literally the next morning, I think we were up in Forest Lake by 7 a.m. for a softball game. So we had some fun, and then we had a long next morning.
Back to reality.
Yeah.
Cody, how'd you celebrate yours?
Well, my wife surprised me by showing up with my boys to the celebration afterwards when we got back. One fun part was, so I actually drive the bus too, for our baseball games. So I do that. So driving back and coming in after the fire trucks, that was fun going around town. The boys are just screaming. People lined up on the streets just cheering. It was definitely a fun celebration coming in the parking lot. They like to do a thing called shake the bus. Probably shouldn't have done it, but the bus was definitely, there's a video on Twitter, definitely swaying side to side pretty good when we came into the parking lot. But it was a fun experience. We went in the gym, talked to the community, and then, so got to celebrate with them for that whole part. And like I said, it's been a lot of little mini celebrations here and there. But, I got home with my family and just relaxed and just took it all in because it was definitely a fun ride, and I'm definitely would love to look forward to it and hopefully do what Brian and Eastridge did last year, and hopefully we can do it on our end. But it's definitely been a fun ride, and definitely a fun experience to get a hold of in the first couple of years of head coaching.
Can you clarify, did you drive the bus to the state championship game?
Yes, I did.
That is
Couldn't
awesome.
change tradition.
You were a legend.
The funny story is driving up to St. Cloud. They didn't warn us about this. Get up to St. Cloud, we get in the parking lot up in the facilities up there at Faber and Joe Putz, and park the bus, drop the team off at the front door. I go to park the bus by all the other buses. All of a sudden, a nice state trooper walks up. and wants to run me through an inspection to make sure everything was up to date on the bus. So I had to run her through everything, and obviously, luckily, my memory is good, and I had to basically run her through like a typical school bus stop and everything, which I know usually don't do. I just do the coaching side of it, but yeah, so couldn't break tradition. I drive it to. There's only one game I didn't drive it to this year, and that's when we went up to DGF by Fargo Moorhead area, and we took a coach bus to that one. But yeah, every game I drive the bus for it, so it's got part of tradition. We had to keep the same tradition when we went to the state tournament. So
Cody,
Wow.
I drive a little bus too. We'll have to race sometime. We'll line them up and race.
sounds good. We'll find a gravel road. We got a few out by Rockford. We can do that.
I'll meet you out there. It'll be fun.
That is fantastic. Gentlemen, I thank you so much for the time, and what a great conversation.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you guys. It's cool hearing your guys' voices and your stories, man. So I appreciate your time tonight too.
Same to you.
This was great. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Brian, Cody, Don, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
You bet. Take care, guys.